Hello everybody, my name is Harold Games and welcome back to another video, another non-gaming video. Before we start the bracket challenge, I just want to say I left my headset back in Florida with my microphone, so I'm recording with my computer microphone. So if you hear chirping in the background, that is my birds my pet parakeets. So if you hear them in the background, that's why, or that's what it is. But yeah, I forgot my headphones, which is unfortunate. Another reason why I can't really record any gaming videos on my Xbox with commentary. I can record without commentary, but I don't know. I don't really have a game that I could record without commentary where there's no copyright music. So I'm gonna have to wait. Now, another thing for real quick before I start the challenge is that MLB The Show 23 is coming out in, let's see here, I believe 2 weeks. Pretty much 2 weeks from today, I believe. Or from tonight at 11 p.m., which would be midnight my time. Uh, I'm not getting early access, but when I get it, when I'm available, I will start a new MLB franchise. I don't know which team I will choose, but I will probably look at the worst teams from people who get early access and see what team I would choose. I'm not going to do the Diamondbacks this year. I want to try and get an American League team, but we'll see. But let's get right. Let's get into the main focus of this video, which is my NCAA tournament bracket challenge. Now, this is my first one that I've done on YouTube, and I've already had done a couple, kind of messing around, but I haven't done like a bracket where I'm actually trying to figure out who I want to pick. So this video is probably going to be a decent length because I'm going to look at some of the stats to comparisons using information bond right here. Like Alabama, obviously we don't know the winner of A&M Corpus Christi or Southeast Missouri. Yeah, but I think Alabama's going to win anyways. But we have four regions: let's see, the South, the Midwest, the West, and the East. My birds are really loud. Um, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna for each section we'll just do the first round, and then we'll do the second round for each section, and so on. That way, we're not doing one section all the way to the Sweet 16, and then doing another section all the way to the Sweet 16. We'll just go in order from left down to right down. So we'll go from south to east, and then from Midwest to west. So let's get started. The number one seed overall, Alabama against Texas A&M Corpus Christi / Southeast Missouri. They're probably happy they made a tournament for money reasons and for their players to get some exposure, but I don't think Alabama's going to be eliminated in the first round. That's just my opinion. I don't think anyone else is going to be able to challenge them at this moment in time. Next game, Maryland against West Virginia, Big Ten team. Those are always notably early exits, it seems like. So we have to make sure that we can accurately predict. But let's take a look at some of their stats, points per game. So West Virginia is not as much of a defensive game, but they score a lot more. Very similar points per game. Maryland lost by 3 to Tennessee. They split the series against Purdue. See, Purdue beat West Virginia by 12. They lost to Kansas 3 times. Maryland did lose to UCLA by 27. They split the series with Indiana. They beat Miami, who's a tournament team. Illinois, who's a tournament team. Northwestern, who's a tournament team. Iowa State or West Virginia beat. They don't have the scores, so I'm assuming the scores weren't awful losses. I'm just curious why they have the scores for Maryland and not for West Virginia. But I feel like Maryland is going to be a team that can make a little run in this tournament. Of course, it's you never know what could happen in March. Any team can win, but I'm going to have Maryland winning that round against West Virginia. Now we have San Diego State and Charleston in a selection show yesterday. People were talking about how this is actually going to be a good 5-12 matchup, and I agree. And I feel like we can see our first upset pretty quickly. Charleston College up against San Diego State University. So I'm so sorry, my birds are so loud. They're so loud. But the one thing that could be concerning for Charleston is they're only one against top 25 in their BPI rank, which I'm not exactly sure what that is. It's a lot higher than San Diego State. See, the conference records are pretty similar. The points per games, Charleston is not as good as a defensive team, but they're a better offensive team. They lost to North Carolina, who was not a tournament team, by 16. They beat Kent State, a tournament team, by 2, and then Virginia Tech. I don't know if Virginia Tech's a tournament team. They might be an NIT team. Just looking at some other things. So they have 5 players scoring in double figures on a nightly basis. This is for Charleston. They push tempo. So yeah, they're an offensive team. And their defensive efficiency is high. So it looks like, okay, so there's a concern with their shooting. I believe that's what that says for Charleston. But when you're averaging 80 points, I mean, this is probably one of those teams where if they get into a slump, it's hard for them to break out of, which is generally the case for a lot of higher seeds, like 10 to 16. They could probably keep close with it, but then the defense from the superior team gets great. I'm still gonna pick Charleston. I like upsets. Yeah, I haven't picked them in any of my other for fun brackets. Like I said, this is my bracket that I'm really trying on because I've made like 3 or 4 brackets already where I'm just having some fun. Next, Virginia against Furman. Furman's another team that could do some damage with the win against Virginia. Obviously, Virginia does not want to lose to get upset again, or that UMBC loss a few years ago. They lost in a conference championship, I believe, to Duke by 10 points per game. So Furman's better offensive team, but they're not as good as defensively. See, let's take a look at their losses. They lost to North Carolina State by 19 and Penn State by 5. Houston lost by 8. Virginia 2. Houston is another number 1 seed, I believe. They beat Baylor by 7. They lost to Miami by 2. They beat Illinois by 9. They split with Duke. They won 2-1 against North Carolina, and then they lost to Boston College by 15. I don't know, it's tough. BPI rank, though, has Virginia at 22 and Furman at 92. No top 25 matchups for Furman. 3-3 for Virginia. I'm gonna go with Virginia. I think Furman, if they do win this game, I think Furman against Charleston will be an all-time classic. But if Charleston wins, but I feel like Virginia is gonna be able to take that game. Next, Creighton against North Carolina State. Creighton a 6 seed, NC State an 11 seed. Pretty similar opponents' points per game and points per game overall. Creighton is 5-7 in the top 25. NC State is 2-2 in the top 25. BPI rank is 11th for Creighton, 46. Conference records weren't the best for these two teams. That's probably why their seeds are lower, especially for NC State. Notable results: NC State lost to Kansas by 6. They split with Duke, with Miami. They lost to Virginia by 13. They got looks like they got swept by Clemson, probably in the conference champion or in the conference tournament. They lost by the Pitt by 8. They split with North Carolina. Transition for NC State. I don't know. UConn or Green's resume. They split with UConn. They lost by 5 to Texas. They lost by 2 to Arizona. They lost twice against Marquette. They went 1-2 against Xavier. They beat Arkansas by 3. Arkansas as a tournament team. Split with Providence. Lost by 2 to Arizona State. I don't know. This is a tough pick. Both teams have top 25 experience. But I'm gonna go with Creighton. I feel like NC State's one of those teams that will have Creighton fighting for their lives for the first 38 minutes, and then Creighton will pull away at the end. All right, Baylor against UCSB. Actually, pretty similar on the points per game differential. About 7 each. No top 25 those for UCSB, and they're in 124th at the BPI rank. Again, I don't know what the BPI rank means. I'm assuming it's something similar to net ranking, but not exact, obviously. Yeah, the only notable result for UCSB is splitting with UC Irvine. Baylor, on the other hand, they beat UCLA, who was number 2 at one point, by 5. Gonzaga by 1. Kansas they split. Texas they split. They got destroyed by Marquette. Lost to Kansas State twice. I watched one of their losses. Iowa State they got swept. It looks like, and they split with TCU. I'm still, or no, I watched them play TCU. I think, but either way, I'm gonna have Baylor still taking that. I think it might be a blowout fashion. So far I only have one upset, but Creighton and NC State is a potential upset. Missouri against Utah State. Again, well, actually, Utah State is better on the BPI and the points per game differential. Differences 0-2 against the top 25. Mizzou is 6-4. BPI ranked. Don't know how Mizzou is 6-4 in conference or in the top 25 and the 59 BPI rank. Might be because of their notable losses or results. Tennessee they beat twice. Alabama they lost twice. Don't know what the scores were by. They got destroyed by Kansas. They lost to Texas A&M twice. They beat Iowa State by 17. They beat Kentucky by 14. They split with Arkansas, and then they beat Illinois by 22. San Diego State, they lost 3 times. 2-1 against Boise State. One even split with Nevada. Beat Oral Roberts by 10 in New Mexico. They won twice. Utah State. Looking... One of the nation's most efficient offense for Utah State. They have the jumper. So basically, for Utah State, it depends on if they can hit shots. They lack some defense. Does Mizzou? So I'm gonna have a second upset. It's not really that big of an upset, but I'm gonna have Utah State moving on to the second round. It'll be close, but I feel like Utah State, as long as they hit shots, and they should do some damage. I'm gonna pick Arizona. All right, good. Princeton's gonna be there. They're gonna show up. So, yeah. I mean, we have 63 picks to make, and I don't want this video to be like an hour long. So, really, I'm gonna kind of speed through the number 1 seeds at the beginning, like Purdue, Texas Southern, and I don't know what FDU is. I'm assuming it's a Florida school, but Purdue's definitely going to win. Memphis against Florida Atlantic University. PI. This is, I mean, one seed difference between the two teams is going to be close. Memphis lost to Alabama by only 3. They beat Texas A&M and Auburn. If he beat North Texas twice, I think North Texas is a NIT team. They won 2-1 against UAB. They beat Florida by 2. I think Florida's also a NIT team. I got destroyed by Ole Miss. I'm gonna give this one to Memphis because of the fact that they're better in the top 25, better BPI rank. I just feel like Memphis, and I believe Penny Hardaway is their coach. I hope I'm not wrong with that, but I believe they're gonna do some damage. Duke against Oral Roberts. This is one of those like trap games. I feel like for predicting. Oral Roberts can score, can't defend as well. Oral Roberts got destroyed by Houston. They beat Merit Liberty. But I think Duke with their first year head coach is going to be able to move on. Tennessee against the Raging Cajuns. I watched them play in the championship game. They weren't terrible. Semifinal game. They weren't terrible. But SEC is a little too tough at times. So I'm gonna give Tennessee the victory in this round. So far, no upsets in my opinion. Kentucky against Providence. This is one of those games where something could happen. Pretty similar points per game differential. Just looking at their notable wins. Looks like Providence has less notable wins and worse notable losses. Kentucky lost by 26 to Alabama, but Alabama is number one seed. We the BPI rank. Top 25. Providence is 3-5 against top 25. They have 3 wins. I don't know. I don't think Kentucky is going to lose in the first round. I'm going to have them going on. Kansas State against Montana State. Montana State. Watched them play football a little bit. I don't know a thing about them in basketball. They're 0-1 against top 25, which I'm assuming was against Arizona, which they lost by 21. And they also got destroyed by Oregon by 30. Kansas State beat they split with Kansas. They split with Texas. They beat Baylor twice. They went 1-3 or 1-2 against TCU. They split Iowa State. They split West Virginia. They beat Nevada by 9, and they beat Oklahoma State twice. You know, it could be one of those potential close games, but I don't see an upset happening. I got Kansas State moving on. Michigan State against USC. Take a look here. Very close points per game differential for both of these two. Very similar results. USC does have a decent resume. I'm going to give USC the upset here. Again, this is my bracket. If anyone has any issues, you can make your own bracket. Or you can let me know in the comments down below what you decide if anyone watches this video. I don't know what UVM is. I can't even tell what their logo is. Looks like a panther, maybe. BPI rank. So they're top 100. And yeah, Marquette. Marquette's a really high seed. I think Shaka Smart is their coach, if I remember correctly. Maybe not. But yeah, so there's our first 2 regions done. For the first round. This video is going to be a long video, so I apologize. But Houston, they're going to be Northern Kentucky. And in fact, for down here, I'm just going to have Kansas beating Howard. That way we can get a couple picks out of the way early. Iowa against Auburn. Again, a close A9 seed. Iowa does score a lot, but they also give up a lot. FranCon. Wonder what FranCon will have on this game, but I'm going to have Auburn picking up this upset. It's not really an upset, but I'm going to have Auburn beating them. Miami against MVC Valley champs Drake. Drake's actually a pretty decent team. Really good points per game differential. They defend well, it looks like. They're 1-0 in the top 25, which I'm assuming was against Mississippi State. They won 2-1 against Bradley. I believe they blew out Bradley in the championship game. Duke, or for Miami Duke, they went 1-2, beat Virginia by 2, got destroyed by Maryland. They split with NC State. They beat Clemson by 4. I don't think Clemson is that good of a team. They split with Pitt, beat Providence by 10, and they beat Rutgers by 5. I don't know. I feel like Drake could be one of those sneaky teams, so I'm going to give Drake that win. That's my up. So I have two upsets, if you want to call it Auburn being an upset. Indiana against Kent State. Kent State is a sleeper. I have them as a sleeper. They're a good team. Don't let them fool you. I mean, they lost by 5 to Houston, by 7 to Gonzaga. They lost by 2 to Charleston, and they beat Toledo twice, which tells me they're with the opponents. Whether or not they could finish, it's a whole other story. So, in my opinion, if they could stay with Indiana, with Indiana's struggles in late games at times, I feel like, holy cow, that's a horrible start time for them. 9:55 p.m. Yikes. Which is why I think Kent State is going to pick up an upset. I feel like it's going to be an upset city in this Midwest region. That's my opinion. Iowa State against Mississippi State or / Pitt. This is a tough prediction because it depends which one of these two teams makes it out. I don't know which team is better between these two. I'm going to assume Iowa State's going to win, but I feel like it's going to be a close game. Xavier against Kennesaw State. Yeah, Xavier. I have Xavier going on. I just want to look at the BPI, see how well Kennesaw State was. Another game that's going to be good, and another terrible start time. Penn State against Texas A&M. Texas A&M is 4-1 in the top 25. Way better BPI rank. Really good in conference. Similar points per game total, but slightly better defensive results. They beat Illinois 3 times, especially in the conference tournament. They lost to Purdue 3 times. Or maybe they only lost to Illinois. Or maybe they only beat Illinois twice. But I feel like they beat them 3 times. They lost twice to Rutgers. They beat Indiana twice. Northwestern twice. I think it's going to be a good game, but I feel like Texas A&M has that power. Micah Shrewsbury has a lot of plays, but I don't know if he's going to be able to lead his team. Texas against Colgate. Good toothpaste name, but Texas is going to be my winner. That fills out the Midwest region first round. Arkansas against Illinois. This game really, all it depends. This is going to be a tough game to decide. All it depends on which team shows up for both teams. For Illinois, if their early season team shows up, then they could win by 30. If their late season team shows up, then they could lose by 4 or 5 and not be able to close out their game. Same with Arkansas. It's going to make it a tough game, but I feel excuse me, but I feel like Illinois has a good luck with first round, and I feel like they can move on and play against Kansas. And really, that's a favorable matchup for Illinois because they could play with just about anybody. St. Mary's against VCU. I believe VCU is Virginia Commonwealth. Pretty close between these two, St. Mary's and VCU. PPI though is well in favor with St. Mary's. St. Mary's is also 2-3 against the top 25. They only lost by 5 to Houston. VCU doesn't have the best resume, so I'm gonna give St. Mary's that win. I think it'll be close though. UConn against Iona. Rick Pitino, I believe, is the head coach for Iona. Going to be against UConn. It's a good team. Both teams are good. They actually have the exact same opponents' points per game. UConn scores a little bit better. Really high BPI rank for both teams. But UConn 3-5 against the top 25. Iona really hasn't played anyone of high power, so I'm going to give UConn that victory. TCU against Arizona State and Nevada. Again, can't really decide, but I'm going to have TCU moving on. Gonzaga against Grand Canyon University. I haven't really seen Grand Canyon in a tournament. But their resume isn't the best. Yeah. I think Gonzaga has this. Northwestern against Boise State. No need to look at the stats. They're my favorite team. I don't care. They're going to be Boise State. And then UCLA, UNC Asheville. I have UCLA moving on. All right, so those are the first round. This video is probably like already 25 minutes long. Again, I apologize, but I'm really thinking about this. Looks like we're over halfway done of picks made. Now we're on to the round of 32. Let me make sure I filled out everything. Yeah, I did. Again, we'll start out up here in the South region and work our way down, then up, then down. Maryland against Alabama. I think Maryland might make this a game, but I don't think the number 1 seed overall is going to go down this early. So I have Alabama moving on. Charleston against Virginia. Now, I think it might be close. I thought that was Virginia. But I feel like Virginia is going to be able to hang on with Charleston and pull away late. I feel like Virginia is going to end Charleston's insanity run. Creighton against Baylor. Again, this is going to be a tough game. You look at the records, 22-10 and 21-12. BPI ranks are very similar. Baylor's slightly better in the top 25. Points per games are very similar. Have they played against each other? It does not look like it. Looking at their resumes, Baylor looks like they have a slightly better resume. Creighton did lose twice to Marquette, and Marquette destroyed Baylor. So yeah, I'm gonna give this one to Baylor. I think Creighton will I think this will be probably one of the closest games, but if this happens, but I think Baylor's gonna move on. Number 10, Utah State against Arizona. Let's see here. Arizona, yeah. I think was Utah State the one with the most efficient offense. Have they played against each other? No. Now, the one thing, though, Utah State lost to San Diego State 3 times. Arizona beat San Diego State by 17. I'm going to have Arizona moving on. So that's my round of 32 for the South region. I'll move on here. Purdue against Memphis. It all depends on how Zach Edey is defended, and if the freshman guards for Purdue can step up like they did in the conference championship game. But I think Matt Painter's squad is going to be able to dethrone Penny Hardaway's squad, and I believe Purdue's going to get to that Sweet 16. Duke against Tennessee. Again, this is going to be a tough game. Tennessee is a good team. So is Duke. I don't know. Have they played each other? No, they haven't. It's sorry. I always want to find teams that play against each other, but they haven't. I'm gonna have Duke picking up this win. I feel like Duke is going to be that type of team this year. Kentucky against Kansas State. They have not played against each other. Kansas State beat Kansas. They split with Kansas. Just looking at stuff. Kansas has a really good resume. Kansas State has a really good resume. I'm going to have Kansas State beating John Calipari's squad. Moving on, USC against Marquette. I don't think these two played against each other. No. Marquette has a great resume. They're 7-2 against the top 25. I'm gonna have Marquette. Moving on. So my Sweet 16 for the East region is Purdue, Duke, Kansas State, Marquette. Moving on to the Midwest region, Houston against Auburn. I'm gonna have Houston. Moving on. Drake against Kent State. I feel like this will be a good matchup right here. If it happens. They have not played against each other. But Kent State they have made it close against Houston, Gonzaga, Charleston, and they beat Toledo twice. Drake beat Mississippi State and 2-1 against Bradley. It's going to be a tough game. But basing off of the BPI rank and the record against top 25 teams and a pretty decent points per game differential, I'm going to have Drake moving on against Kent State. Face Houston in the Sweet 16. Iowa State against Xavier. Look at these two teams. These two teams played against each other. They have not. Xavier did beat Marquette. I'm gonna have Iowa State moving on. I feel like they can win. Texas A&M against Texas. Nice in-state matchup between the two teams. I'm very surprised they have not played against each other in like pre-season, pre-conference. Texas A&M beat Alabama. They have a good resume. So does Texas, though. I think Texas A&M can dethrone Texas. I think they can. So my Sweet 16 matchup for the Midwest is Houston, Drake, Iowa State, Texas A&M. And our last region for the Sweet 16, Kansas against Illinois. Like I said, if Illinois shows up against Arkansas, I believe they can show up against Kansas and be a favorable team. I was looking to make sure that they didn't play each other, but I think Kansas is going to be able to dethrone Illinois in the round of 32 and move on to the Sweet 16. St. Mary's against UConn. Again, close team or tough teams. I don't think they have not played against each other. UConn did beat Alabama by double digits. They beat Marquette. They beat Creighton. I think UConn's going to move on to the Sweet 16. TCU against Gonzaga. For the memes, I'm going to have Gonzaga moving on and Northwestern moving on. The reason why is because if you remember that stupid goaltending call against Northwestern, where I think they might have had a chance to win that game if that goaltending call was called. So, yeah. And we're going to do this as well. All right. Alabama against Virginia. This is... I don't think Alabama is going to be dethroned. I feel like they played against each other. They have not. Or if they did, it wasn't a notable result. But I think Alabama is going to be able to move on to the Elite Eight. Baylor against Arizona. They have to had played against each other. They have not. At least it's not a notable result. Wow. I could be thinking of something wrong. Uh, 6-1. Yeah, I have Arizona. They're gonna move on. 6-1 is the top 25. So Alabama and Arizona in the Elite Eight in the South region. We'll just go back up here. Houston against Drake. I feel like Houston's gonna move on. Iowa State against Texas A&M. Have they played against each other? They have not, at least the notable results wise. I feel like Texas A&M 7 seed. I feel like a 7 seed is possible to go make it to the Elite Eight without fooling around. I think we're gonna have in this upper part of the bracket for our Elite Eight. We're gonna have Bama and Arizona against Houston and Texas A&M, and our Northwestern obviously is gonna move on. Duke against Purdue. This is where I feel like it's gonna be tough for Purdue. But Purdue is a good team, and they beat Duke by 19. So I don't have to really look at anything else. Purdue, you're going to make your elite, I feel like your first Elite Eight in what seems forever. Kansas State against Marquette. That's going to be a good game. Have they played against each other? No. Lost by 5 to Purdue, UConn. And I'm going to have Marquette moving on to the Elite Eight. I think they're that good. And then who's going to play against Northwestern in the Elite Eight? Kansas against UConn. They have not played against each other. I think UConn could be that team to upset number 1. So I'm going to pick UConn. Alright, so our Elite Eight is Purdue, Marquette, UConn, Northwestern, Alabama, Arizona, and Houston and Texas A&M. I have one seed gone. The three other 1 seeds are still here. We're going to start out with this region. Alabama against Arizona. This is going to be a tough game for Arizona. Or for both teams. It looks like they have not played each other, but I feel like Arizona, who are 6-1, Alabama is 7-4 in the top 25. I feel like Arizona could win this game. So I'm gonna have Alabama losing in the Elite Eight and losing their second, or we're gonna be losing our second number 1 seed. And Houston against Texas A&M is 7 seed. Houston is a good team, but they've only played 2 games in the top 25. I don't know. Texas A&M is a team that I feel like can do something, and because of that, I'm gonna have Texas A&M upsetting another 1 seed in the Elite Eight. So I have Arizona against Texas A&M as our first of 4, 2 of 4 Final Fours. Purdue against Marquette. It's gonna be a tough game. I don't know. It's really tough. But Marquette does have they played against each other? Oh, they have. Purdue beat them by 5, which tells me it's going to be a close game if these two do rematch. I think Marquette can knock out Purdue. That's our last 1 seed. And then lastly, we have UConn and Northwestern. Northwestern is 4-1 against top 25. You really want to look at it, look at something. But I don't. It'll be tough. I'm gonna have UConn. If Northwestern does get to this point, I don't think they would make it a close game with UConn. But so my final four, I have Arizona, Marquette, Texas A&M, and UConn. That is my final four. Now this is probably an awful final four, but that's just my opinion. We'll start off with Texas A&M and UConn. Just looking, have they played against each other? No. I'm gonna have UConn moving on to the national championship. Probably not gonna happen, but you never know. And then Arizona against Marquette. If these two teams do play, this will probably be the national championship. They have not played against each other, but I think Arizona is gonna make that national championship run. Arizona against UConn, a 2 or 4 seed in a national championship. My opinion, I'm gonna have Arizona getting that W. Although UConn has a good resume, it's going to be close. Arizona, it's going to be 65-60, and that is your final score. So, my national champions are Arizona. Whether or not this is right, I don't know. Again, sorry if you hear stuff in the background like my birds. They chirp a lot, but yeah. And sorry if I feel like I'm talking louder. I'm just trying to talk louder and try and cover up their noise. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys enjoyed my picks. And again, if you have any issues with my picks, comment down below what you would have done. Because I feel like we're gonna have some upsets, but we're not gonna have like an upset every single round. But I do think Arizona and Marquette are gonna be your teams out of the East region. The Northwestern pick was just me wanting to get them there. Well, I'll be happy if we win our opening round, and that's it. I'm not expecting much. If we can get a rematch against Gonzaga, then I'll love it. Whether or not we win, I don't know. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, sorry for no gaming videos. Um, my only other gaming video my only other thing I would consider gaming wise would be The Last of Us doing a grounded playthrough. Like, you have like one life playthrough on the hardest difficulty. But I don't feel like that would be a fun series after the first 3 episodes if I can't make it past a certain spot. Because it's a tough game and overall. So yeah, but yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys stay safe. I don't know when my next upload is going to be after this, because I don't have any games really to play. But yeah, take care, stay safe, and peace.